For Kim, they say was Trump's electoral plot and attempted insurrection more or less democratic than the DNC replacing Biden with Kamala in particular?
I don't believe January 6th was an insurrection attempt by Donald Trump. Maybe there were people inside of J6 that, you could maybe make an argument that there were some sinister individuals who were involved in that, but I don't think that there was some top-down directive that came from Donald Trump or anyone in the Republican Party. And as far as
how can you say that when you said earlier you don't know anything about what happened? You said over and over again you weren't sure.
I know enough to know that from the investigations that there was no directive that they found coming from the top down.
That's literally he's under indictment right now by the federal government, by Jack Smith. How can we say that we know?
Just to hear the rest from Kim. Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, there was no directive coming down from the top. There's no evidence of this whatsoever. They can make any charge that they want. They could charge you with anything that they want, Destiny. You can fight that in court. Trump will not be he will not be convicted of an insurrection, of plotting an insurrection where there's no plans or plots that were there. So, individuals behaving however individuals behave is completely different than coming from the top. So I don't think that I don't think there was an insurrection coming from the top.
Yeah, I think it was pretty obvious that there was. I think that there was a plan in place the entire time to have Donald Trump subvert the peaceful transfer of power. I think he followed that up by goading everybody on the January 6th. When people say stop the steal, when they say we need Mike Pence to do the right thing, he's talking about stopping the steal of the election because he wants to remain president. When he's talking about Mike Pence doing the right thing, he's talking about Mike Pence choosing him to be president. When he tells people we're going to march down Pennsylvania Avenue and we're going to give them the strength that they need to do the right thing, he's talking about them objecting to the certification of the election, using intimidation and violence that they have to do it. And they were successful to some extent. They managed to delay the certification of the vote. But unfortunately, there were too many proud, strong men, most of whom were Republicans, people like Barr, people like Pence, other lawmakers and other bureaucrats inside the White House that managed to stop and thwart Donald Trump's plot to insurrect and coup the government.
You make a lot of assumptions about what a person's thinking inside of their mind when they haven't actually said anything. That is.
What do you think Donald Trump hasn't said that I don't know?
Well, he never said go down there and stop them and do all. He said we're going to go down there and peacefully protest. That's what he actually said. You then want to put something else in his mind and in his mouth, just like you do for all of your fellow Americans.
He said stop the steal. What does stop the steal mean?
They believed that the election was stolen.
Okay,
that is something that is fine for a person to believe.
Okay, and if you think the election was stolen, and if you think the election is stolen, and you send a ton of people down to the Capitol building where they're certifying
protest.
Why would you peacefully protest a stolen election?
That's what he said.
No, he didn't say. He said, "I know you're going to go peacefully protest."
Down there and we're going to peacefully
protest. He didn't say that. No, you're putting words in his mouth. He never said that quote. You just invented that quote.
Then you tell me the words that he said when he said, "Go down there and violently take it."
No, he said we need to fight like hell. You need to fight like hell, or you're going to lose your country. He said we need to give these weak Republicans, something to fight for. We need to give them a backbone. We need to help the strong ones. They're going to help us. He made these statements over, and I can read you 20 statements that he made. It was an hour speech.
Destiny, you make things up.
Well, he's the one under federal indictment.
What people are thinking. You make things up about what people are saying. You're
what
making it up.
I haven't made up a single thing. You just made up a quote from
land.
What fantasy land?
You need to focus on facts.
I am focusing on facts. I do focus on what people say. You're the one that you didn't even know what the legal theories were that you were purporting earlier.
People that support RFK Jr. are just hateful. They hate the country.
Yeah, a lot of them do.
America.
They do. Absolutely. 1,000,000%.
Look, you're just making stuff up.
What am I making up? You haven't said a single thing I'm making up.
Tip 35 says.
Yeah, I guess the first thing is, do we agree that Donald Trump thought that Vice President Pence could choose him as the winner of the last election?
I don't know what Donald Trump thought when it came to that. I think that there are some legalities with how our country runs that do allow for certain procedures. A lot of them are really wonky and they get into the weeds. So there is maybe a possibility that he thought something could happen. But
okay, are you aware that Trump and Eastman wanted Pence to break the law in Congress, the Electoral Count Act? They wanted him to break that law to choose Donald Trump to remain president.
Once again, I'm not sure if that was breaking the law or if that was using an obscure procedural rule that would allow for something along those lines. That has been debated by experts. I am not an expert on that, but experts do debate that.
To be clear, experts don't debate it. Are you aware that Eastman himself said on first
pass... How do you
know?
Why do you say that experts don't debate that when they do debate
because
that?
There are none. Find them and bring them to me and I will destroy all of them. No real expert. No, there are none.
That there are any experts that debate whether or not there are some procedural rules that would allow for certain things to happen during those procedures. You don't think that there's any expert out there that was arguing that? Because I heard numerous experts saying that there was this, obscure rule that would allow something like that to happen.
Maybe from other countries, but not from the United States. No. There were no serious experts arguing this. That's why Eastman himself said that if it went to the Supreme Court, he said they'd probably lose 7-2, and then he said they'd probably lose 9-0.
7-2. So 2 of the Supreme Court justices, do you not think that they know the laws of this country?
Eastman was asked on first pass, do you think that they would win in the Supreme Court? And he said, we would probably lose 7-2, and then he admitted they would lose 9-0.
But actually, we don't know because it never went to the Supreme Court. But had it, maybe it would lose 7-2. I'm not saying it would have won, but the fact that there maybe would have been 2 or 3 justices that would have ruled in favor show that there is an obscure rule that potentially could have been used that Trump thought that would be possible.
If you're the progenitor, if you're the originator of the idea, and even you think that you would lose in the Supreme Court, but maybe 2 people will side with you, that doesn't seem like an idea that's hotly contested by experts.
Experts clearly, if 2 of them would agree to it, then maybe you wouldn't win, but it still doesn't mean that the rule isn't worth challenging. There's plenty of cases that lose in the Supreme Court. It doesn't make them not worth challenging.
Do you think it would be in line with American democracy for the president to tell the vice president to ignore the will of the voters and choose who the next president is going to be?
I think that if the will of the voters was ignored by the electoral process and if the vote was rigged, then yes, absolutely, it would be the responsibility of the president of the United States to actually put that forward to protect democracy in this country. Depends on how you look at it. If it were Donald Trump who subverted the election and Kamala Harris actually wins and you believe in your mind or you know for sure that she actually won, wouldn't you want them to challenge that? Wouldn't you want them to try to do whatever they could to preserve democracy? The only reason you're against it is because of the person. And you've got to look deeper than that. It's got to be about the actual process, not the person. Donald Trump might not be your guy or my guy, but nonetheless, the process needs to be protected.
Yes, I agree with that. You already said that you don't know the process, so I don't know why you're appealing to the process. Donald Trump did try to challenge the election with 64 different court cases. He won one of them in an inconsequential Pennsylvania case that didn't really impact much of the vote at all. He lost the other 63. He was shot down in the Supreme Court a number of times, and he was shot down when he tried to present false evidence to state legislatures a number of times. Everywhere that he tried the process, he lost, and that ended up with him begging Pence to basically just choose him as the winner of the election. At what point can we not say this is probably anti-democratic?
How is that anti-democratic? He went through the process. If you challenge things in court and you lose in court, that's still using the process. Just because you lost doesn't mean that you're doing anything illegal.
It was illegal to break the ECA. He lost in the courts. That's why he told Pence, I need you to break the law and choose me to be president. That was the process. He went through the courts and he lost. He didn't like the result. And then he asked Pence to choose him to be the winner of the election. This is anti-democratic.
I believe that is part of if that's part of the process, that's part of the process.
Was it part of the process when they had people forge in 7 different states that they were the electors and that they wanted to vote for Trump?
Again, there are a lot of rules with the process. In fact, when the Democrats were upset that Donald Trump had won in 2016, they pursued similar tactics.
Can you name a single state where they had a false slate of electors made without the approval of the state legislature? No.
I believe Colorado actually in 2016 did put forward some alternate electors or even said that they wanted to have a compromise candidate send electors to do the election and instead put Mitt Romney in as a compromise candidate. I remember this very clearly.
Hypothesizing on what a state legislature said that maybe they want to do, maybe they did, is far different than Trump's campaign. That's great that there was a push for it. That's great that some people might have pushed for it. Donald Trump and his underlings falsified 7 different slates of electors for Pence to choose on January 6th. This is anti-democratic. What could be less democratic than trying to change the outcome of the election of a state because you don't like the result?
Do you believe that the election results in Venezuela were accurate?
I'm not Venezuelan. I don't care about the results in Venezuela, but we had ways to challenge the results in the United States. Breaking the law and having the vice president choose you to be the president again, surely you can see the conflict of interest there, right? The guy that is president right now is saying that the election was rigged when he's running for election again. I mean, why would we trust this person who lost in every other forum?
In 2016, Democrats believed that the elections were rigged.
Hillary, what's the difference though? In 2016, Hillary conceded that night. Donald Trump said stop the count and tried to win the election early.
Did Hillary really concede?
Yep,
or
she did.
She conceded and then continued to undermine behind the scenes Donald Trump's presidency, continue to delegitimize it, continue to go after him numerous times over and over after 2016.
You can go after people however you want. What could be less democratic than Donald Trump telling Pence, I want you to make me the president again. I'm not happy with these court results. I'm not happy with what's going on. I need you to choose me again to be president.
I don't think that's actually a clear characterization of what really happened.
It is absolutely what happened. It is
Well,
verbatim.
from your perspective.
No,
but I
from
don't
the
think
perspective
from
of every single person involved. That's why Eastman, after it failed, was emailing Giuliani saying like, hey, you remember that pardon list? I think I do need to be stuck on that. I think I'm going to need some pardons preemptively just in case. This is why Giuliani and Sidney Powell are being sued. It's why they've admitted that they lied about the voter fraud. It's why a lot of them are being disbarred now. Yes, this all happened. It's a very public record, very open testimonies under oath. Yes, all of this happened. So do you agree that Donald Trump telling the vice president, can you make me president again? That's like the least democratic thing you could ever do in a democracy.
I think that if you think that the election was rigged, I think that it is your responsibility to protect democracy.
So you think that Donald Trump should have tried to steal the election if he thinks that
forgive me, I just want to I want to give you a chance to each of you to get any last thoughts on this, but then I want to redirect us back to Kamala Harris per se.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. I just think when we talk about democracies, the Democratic Party or the Republican Party could literally right now say, oh, here's my candidate. We're going to put this guy forward, and then you guys can vote for them or not in the general election. Both parties have a right to do that. They're private parties. They can do whatever they want, basically. The idea that Kamala Harris, who was the vice president, who was on the ticket, that delegates that switch from Biden to Kamala Harris is somehow anti-democratic. You don't have to vote for them in the general if you don't want to. Nobody's forcing you to do that. But somehow Donald Trump telling the vice president, hey, I need you to just pick me as the president. I need you to pick me and ignore, the will of the actual voters of the American population and just pick me to be the president again because I'm not happy with the results of the last election. That is the least democratic thing you could ever do in a democracy.
I think it was to delay in order to allow for more counting. I don't think it was just install me as president again and anoint me as president. It instead was a tactic to delay.
I appreciate that, Destiny.
All right, bye.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.